Revolutionary greetings, my Africa. Are you good? I'm good, guys. Okay, guys, welcome to the platform. And today we are talking Tokyo Sexwale and his response to Thabo Mbeki'S or to President Thabo Mbeki'S allegations that President Zuma was an agent of the enemy at Robben Island. Okay, let's listen in on it and hear what is his response. Then I'll be telling you my own analysis in terms of the response of how Tokyo Sexwale responds to these allegations that President Zuma was an agent of the enemy at Robben Island. Okay, guys, let's get to it.
With two presidents, but former President Mbeki was quoted in newspapers as casting aspersions over former President Zuma and whether he was collaborating with or a spy for the apartheid regime. What do you make of that, if you're able to comment?
It was disheartening. It's also emotional. You've got to be in our space, in the ANC, in its top leadership, National Executive Committee. You've got to be in its government. You've got to be in the struggle, even to the death, MK and prison and other places, to understand how this what you referred into hit at us. For me, and I'm sure other comrades have got their own views, but I'm going to give you mine. I know both men.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
I love both men. I can't erase that. I lived with them in exile, very close. Not just in a very close, small country, Swaziland, Mabani, especially Manzini, worked with them. They recruited me into mpofu-walsh, these two.
wow, it was those two.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said mpofu-walsh, when I joined the ANC, it was through Winnie Mandela, because I lived with her in Mandela's house, not far away from the high school where I was a chief prefect as a student. This is where they shot the kids, Orlando West High School. So ANC, I joined it there. No membership card, life, Winnie, who features quite prominently in what I'm writing, because I lived with him.
Wonderful.
This mother. That aside, but these two leaders,
Yeah.
my brothers, these two important people in my life, I worked with them. Also learned how to protect them when I was younger. You know, they were always 10 years ahead, in their 30s at the time. I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up with them.
But they keep going.
The distance remains 10 years, and I admire them for that experience. They worked with one another in exile, Sizwe. We went through the process of Kodesa together,
Yeah.
which was the platform for negotiations in South Africa for a new breakthrough. They were together. We saw violence flaring up in the country. They were together. Blah, 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 blah. They were together in the presidency. One being president, one deputy. But they both became presidents eventually, taking over from these men of substance I referred to. Now, when now, I don't know how we got here. Suddenly, another one says, this one has always been an enemy agent. I freeze. You see, because the enemy doesn't keep you on Robben Island for 10 years as an agent. There's some distorted information that the other comrade you should handle this thing somewhere. There's something wrong. And Zuma on Robben Island never met Nelson Mandela because the section in which he was kept. Now, if he had to be an agent to go and stay with his men, he was never there. was in another section. Like I said, many never met this man.
All right, guys. So
A few of us.
we've had Tokyo Sexwale's response, right? Just as a big up to Dr. Mpofu-walsh for having this interview with Tokyo Sexwale, right? So Tokyo Sexwale, like most of us, expresses the view of disheartening, right? It's quite disheartening that you get people who make such accusations against someone who spent 10 years in prison, right? 10 years in prison for standing up against the regime. Just like Tokyo Sexwale says that the enemy, right? The enemy cannot send you to 10 years in prison as their agent, right? How to explain that, right? How to explain that, you see? So on that point, I agree with Tokyo Sexwale that indeed it does not make sense, right? It does not make sense that someone who sacrificed so much, right? Who sacrificed so much and spent 10 years in prison, right? As a result of him fighting the system, then all of a sudden you turn around and say this person was an agent of the enemy, right? Where I disagree with Tokyo Sexwale, it is when he says President Thabo Mbeki has been misled. This is where I disagree with Tokyo Sexwale when he says President Mbeki has been misled, right? Has been given distorted information, right? The information that claims that President Zuma was an agent of an enemy, right? Was an agent of the apartheid system, right? It's in that point where I disagree with Tokyo Sexwale, because actually President Thabo Mbeki has a history, right? Has a history of tarnishing people. Tokyo Sexwale himself, he's a victim of the very same thing. Remember, there was a point, was it in early 2000s, right? Early 2000s, where Tokyo Sexwale, Matthew Sposa, and Cyril Ramaphosa were accused, right, by those close to Thabo Mbeki, especially Steve Tshwete, right, that these three were plotting to overthrow Thabo Mbeki as the president, right? And we know that later on, years later on, that report was proved to be false, right? But of course, this was an intention to ensure, because Thabo Mbeki saw these three as potential contenders, right, to his leadership in the African National Congress. So he had to manufacture ways of getting them out of his way. So what I'm saying, that this is not new to Thabo Mbeki, right? It has appeared to be his way of operating, his way of doing things. He has tried so much to destroy President Zuma, and he has failed. So now, out of his desperation, right, to ensure that by the time he goes to grave, he has tarnished President Zuma and has destroyed him. Now he comes with this allegation that he knows that this allegation will call into question President Zuma's credibility and integrity in the struggle against colonialism apartheid. You see. So that's why I disagree with Tokyo Sexwale, that it cannot be that President Mbeki has been misled. The man of his intelligence, right? The man of his intelligence. Remember, I always told about this Thabo Mbeki's intelligence, right? That is one of the most intelligent African leaders that the African continent has ever produced. So someone of that caliber, if we're to believe, right, that the intelligence that we are being told that he possesses, right, surely cannot be misled that easily, right? That means actually he's deliberately part of the plot to ensure that he tarnishes President Zuma's image and reputation. He calls into question his contribution, right? Because once we say someone was an agent of an enemy, it means all the years that that person dedicated in the struggle against colonialism, apartheid, right? Then you are calling that into question. It erases everything that the man did. You see. So I disagree there with Tokyo Sexwale. Actually, the man was not misled. He's deliberate. This is part of how he operates, part of how he does things, right? Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. And please remember to comment in the comment section below. Remember to like, share, subscribe. And please remember to hit the notification button and also click the link on the subscription, right? The subscription below, there's a link there. This link will send you on to our landing page where you leave your email address and all of that. So each time I publish a video, I send it directly to you to your email. You get to view the video. Each time I publish an article, because I've got a blog, I publish articles, I send it directly to you via your email. or we share materials, can be policy documents, books that are relevant to the content that I'm creating. Thank you very much, guys, Africans, for tuning in. Siyabonga, Africa.